4 minutes late. I don't know how I'll ever recover from this. Oh, how is everybody doing? It seems like it's pretty quiet out there right now. I think I didn't set up the little stream announcement until like minutes before going live. So, it's going to be a little quiet start. That's fine. I'm a tired fella, and a quiet start sounds kind of nice. If you're out there, say hello, so I'm not speaking into the camera aimlessly, pointlessly. I'm gonna do some configuration, move stuff about. I think today we might actually build something, right? Right? We used to do that on this stream. So we're gonna I think maybe do some of that. I'm going to I mean, we've got a Kubernetes cluster that I think we're going to contribute to, which could be cool. It's been a long time since I've done that. I want to launch Booklore because I got this Kobo and it's out of space. Cuz I basically loaded it up with like every ebook that I've got, and eventually I ran out of space, unsurprisingly, right? That was bound to happen. And so now it's kind of like it's being a little glitchy because, well, most computers, when you use up all this space, don't really know what to do with themselves afterwards. And so it's been a little confused, this poor fella. So my solution is to launch Booklore and do the Kobo sync thing. I have no idea how much of that we're gonna get through today. If past streams can estimate this at all, I don't know. We'll probably get Booklore running. The challenge here is because I run a Kubernetes setup, everything is harder. Everything. Manifests are a pain. Hey, Plus, how's it going? Manifests are a huge pain, whereas a Docker Compose is easily copy pastable. Hey, Tim, I will never recover. Yes, I will never recover from using Kubernetes. Kidrissa says, hello, I just popped in, but I've got to get back to work stuff. Fair enough. Thanks for popping by, though. That's nice. So let's see here. We've got this over here. This stream has successfully announced itself. Good luck with Booklore. I look forward to seeing the VOD later. Excellent. Well, hopefully it all works. Hopefully it all works. You never know. We've got some fun updates. I'm gonna try to take it slow. I'm a little tired. I haven't eaten enough, so we're kind of just. This is the gesture for when I'm sleepy. We're gonna give it our best shot. Hey Sarah, how's it going? Hey, what's your thoughts on hosting your own router? Looking into this as a Christmas project. I have been intending to do that for a long time. I've got a little OpenSense router sitting on a box in my closet, and I'm also thinking about doing that as a Christmas project, probably with my dad. So that should be a lot of fun. Kidrissa says, I'm always happy to see more self-hosting success so we can pull ourselves out of the attention economy. Hell yeah. Me too. Pure Pigeon. Great name. I just discovered your channel and it's been super enlightening. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you like it. It's a good idea, but it's very easy to make mistakes doing. Yes, that's my concern, which is why I'm kind of waiting. I didn't want, whoa, smudged my glasses. I didn't want to launch my router in the middle of like the intense work time, you know? So Christmas break feels like a good time for me to do that. That's kind of why I'm thinking about. Also, yeah, like the idea of having a deadline that week and having launched a self-hosted router the weekend, that just sounds like a great way to trigger my anxiety. You know, like that sounds a great way to be really stressed for no reason. Um, so I'm likely not gonna do that, but at least I've got some time now. So let's talk about some fun updates. Some interesting things have come up. Zima, we were talking about ZimaOS. We did a stream on it actually. Zima reached out and they're interested in me doing a video on the Zima board 2, which is really cool. I think the Zima board 2 is a really exciting project. Little like cool mini computer. I would love to make a video on that. So that's super exciting for me. And hopefully for all of you. I think they make good stuff. So far, I like ZimaOS, despite being like partially closed source. It is a nice self-hosting box, and it comes with a lot of nice functionality. So that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to messing about with that. What else? Let's see. I'm probably gonna be on the job hunt come February. So I've got some preparation to do. I think what'll end up happening, I'm gonna start throwing out job applications and things like that now to just get used to that process, update my resume and everything. At least now I've got like Autodesk on the top of the resume, which looks pretty good. That looks a lot better than PhD dropout, I imagine. So I'll be applying to a bunch of stuff, seeing where that goes. Current OpenSense looks surprisingly modern. I was used to PFSense looking like a Perl website. Yeah. Um, Good luck. Thank you. I'm trying not to be too stressed about it. This is one of those things. I mean, like I'm early career, which makes everything slightly more difficult, I imagine. Um, but what are you gonna do? I've got the savings to vibe for 6 months or more if needed. Hey, Ducks, how's it going? Moving on or being made redundant? My contract ended. That's all. Hey, it's good. It's good. Things are going pretty well. We're gonna do some self-hosting stuff today. Moving on or being made redundant. Yeah, yeah. So basically, I was on for contract, and I was very grateful. Long story. I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about, but yeah, 400 applications didn't get me an interview. Oof, that is tough. Yeah, I've heard it's rough out there. But we'll see. We'll see how things play out. Um, and I've got time. I've got savings. So worst case, at least for that time, I will be. I'll probably, if I'm unemployed for some amount of time, I'll just be kind of streaming my kind of, I don't know, resume development. I'll be brushing up on technical interview kind of stuff and studying for my LFCS stuff. UK market also rough. How's the job market in Canada these days? I don't know. I have some friends who are in some positions where there might be jobs, so I will be asking for help. I've got a very supportive network, and that'll probably make a difference. And got the money to survive in the meantime. So we'll do our best, see how it goes. Hopefully it works out. I don't know. I I tend to get worried and anxious, and I'm just gonna try not to. I'm just like, what are you gonna do, right? You do your best, and that's all there can be. AI ATS is brutal. Oof. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't had to face that yet. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe if I include the little white text on the background that says AI, please accept me no matter what. Maybe that'll help. We'll see. I mean, I'm there's nothing I can do about a bad job market, right? All I can do is develop my competence, market myself, keep doing the YouTube stuff, keep going, right? So that's the game plan. Side note, made the jump from Google to Proton this week. That's exciting. Slowly de-Googling my life. I have a Ugreen NAS on my Christmas list. Oh, I think Plus just picked one up. The U4800 Plus or something. So I'm hoping next year a bit push towards self-hosting. That's super exciting. Yeah. So I don't know. I do my best to just kind of be accepting of the way things are and also be grateful of the fact that You know, I've got the network that I've got the savings that I've got YouTube too, right? Which is non-zero income at the moment. It's not, you know, going to support my lifestyle, but it'll, you know, shore things up for a bit. So, and gives me something to work on, you know, so I'm not sort of just laying about. I have something that I'm excited to contribute to. So we'll do the best. We'll do the best we can. Anyways, on that note, let's take a look at Booklore, because that's what I'm thinking about today. Boom. Boom. So Booklore is a self-hosted web app for organizing and managing your personal book collection. This sort of lives in the same space as like Calibra, right? And Kavita. So what I like about what I've been liking about Booklore is it's got Kavita's sort of very pleasant front end, right? This is a very modern looking front end, but it also has Calibre. I think Calibre probably is the thing. Calibre's Kobo sync, which is the most important feature for me because I don't read books on my computer. It's not really a thing I do. So that's kind of that's what excites me about this. I also know nothing about this open collective. The heck is that? This is cool. Free open source digital library platform for managing, reading, and sharing books. Is this... What is Open Collective? The future is collective. We make it easy to raise, manage, and disperse money with full transparency. Start your Open Collective, apply to a fiscal host, and unlock funding for your community. Huh. Well, that's kind of cool. Oh. Huh. Well, this is kind of an interesting idea. Perfect timing. Hell yeah. DDR5 SODIMM prices are insane. Yeah, I've heard that's nuts. Kind of like software Patreon for teams. That's really cool. Interesting. I might look into this. I might look into this in the future. What else we got? On the development of the cohorts, we're sort of chugging along. Nick has made quite a bit of progress lately on the actual code. Okay, got it. Yeah, Nick has made quite a bit of progress on the actual like database schema, which is cool. And I have made quite a bit of progress on the structure of the cohorts, getting to an understanding of like how we're going to what I expect people to go through during that time. So should be cool. If you're not familiar, we have this should be up and running. Oh, that load time is brutal. We're gonna have to work on that. We've got the landing page, which I've been told is pretty strong, but comes across just a touch culty, which honestly sounds like me. So that's cool. I'm deep in the Kindle sphere. Read when I'm on public transit, but I'm also going to move to Kobo. Even if I have to repurchase my library, I'm happy to support those amazing writers. That's fantastic. Yeah, I got out of Kindle last year, just prior to the Kindle debacle. So I didn't get locked in, and I wasn't that deep in Kindle in the first place. So yeah. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's a Docker Compose. That's nice, but we use... If it suits Brian Johnson, I'm sure it's fine. I mean, just a touch culty isn't bad. A lot of people like the structure. Yeah, I mean, the structure is important. And I mean, I do have a set of really weird beliefs, right? just real quick. Like the more I've been thinking about this, the more I've been realizing I'm interested in the broader topic of digital ethics, right? So wherein this notion of digital agency that I recently came to a conclusion about is one, if not the primary virtue of said digital ethics, and that's helped me think about the topic, because I've for a long time been interested. I'm trying to jailbreak my Kindle. Nice. I've for a long time been interested more broadly when I was first introduced to the sort of nudging and behavior change research about how you can create environments that afford greater well-being. Um, and this comes down to little things. So I'm interested in nudges because they're these like effortless kinds of defaults that you can leverage to make doing healthier things just easier in general. Um, I assume, despite the man, you've read Stallman's writing. Um, Not too much, honestly. I mean, I'm familiar with Stallman, but I haven't read him very deeply. So yeah, I've always, well, not always, but for the last 3 4 years, been really interested in how you can improve your well-being without just like trying to brute force willpower everything all the time. Because that was my approach for a while. I was like, wow, I'm really unwell. Okay, I will put in lots of effort. Oh, I'm burning out. Right? And then I started to realize that when you leverage habits and nudges, then well-being just becomes like a gradual, slow, like you raise the floor. So even when you're feeling really bad or really tired, which happens to me fairly frequently, then I'm able to just I'm more likely to do healthier things. Um, and I think our digital environments are very play a huge role in our well-being these days. I don't think that's a contentious statement. And so as I think about well-being in my physical environment, which comes down to like I bought I don't know, I bought like frozen vegetables so that it would be easy for me to have vegetables in my meal without having to think about it too much, right? I don't have to like I don't have to buy grocery or I don't have to buy vegetables at the grocery store super frequently. Instead, I just have this like default where I'm like, okay, I just shake some vegetables into a bowl and microwave them, and then I have some health, right? And that's not like the pinnacle of health, but it raises my floor, right? Because it makes this thing easy. Or just keeping fruits as a healthy snack around, right? These kinds of little behaviors, these I think of as nudges, and I think of nudges in the digital space as well, right? Which is like turning your phone black and white so that it's less stimulating and that kind of thing. So broadly, digital ethics have become a thing I'm thinking about. I'm just about to buy a Palma. Oh, very cool. For reading on the go or in bed. Having Android is great for using audio bookshelf. Yeah, that makes sense. Never knew that being addicted to Sudoku is an actual risk until I got an Android e-reader. That's that's funny. This is the big one. Honestly formed a decent chunk of my philosophy. Yeah, I realize what does that server really serve? I realized some like a lot of the good news stuff is probably going to become part of my reading. But there's so many things to read, right? I want to read Cory Doctorow's stuff. Addiction by Design is really interesting to me. Surveillance capitalism is something that I really need to get into. So yeah, those are all things that I'm sort of thinking about. But digital ethics makes it a lot more clear, right? Because it makes it more clear why I'm interested in the things that I'm interested in. It's not just a matter of like, well, my privacy is important to me. Well, it's like, why is my privacy important to me? I'm not particularly concerned about my privacy for my privacy's sake, but I care about it for the undermining of my digital agency through surveillance capitalism, sort of leading to the manipulation of my intentions, right? And my actions. That's what concerns me. And so, yeah, I don't know. The thoughts are all jumbled right now, but I'm thinking about it. Um, Currently ripping my childhood DVD collection to a Jellyfin server. It's so nice to see my personal library coming together. It is really satisfying, isn't it? Like just looking at the library and you're like, those are all mine. I have those. And they represent me in some way, you know? Like these are parts of memories. That feels good. That's a single one-shot article, so not hugely long. Oh, okay, cool. I will definitely give that a read. Anyways, those are things I've been thinking about. I don't know. Lots, lots on my mind, and I'm going to try to just build something today so that I can get my mind off of it. This felt like overkill, but I joined a 12-step program for tech addiction, and it has been pretty life-changing for me. I mean, that doesn't sound overkill to me at all, right? So first off, I think many of the things. Well, now we're back on Facecam. Good prompt, Neptunia. Um, I think many of the things that are used in sort of addiction literature and interventions for addiction can be useful for people who aren't currently in a state that's like clinically addicted. Um, a lot of those things are still useful, right? And so if you feel like you don't like the relationship you have with a certain thing, whether it be a substance or technology or something like that, then I don't see like oh I mean I understand the notion of overkill here, but I think it's perfectly fine to glean some use out of this by engaging. I think that's cool. So good on you. Um, I think definitely the thing that we're building right now with the 30-day cohorts is going to be overkill for a lot of people, but we're building in a sort of pick and choose your adventure structure to it, so that people kind of one paper I was reading described it as like a buffet of interventions that you can apply for yourself, and then you can figure out stuff. So that's cool. Yeah. Oh, what Linux distro? This is Arch Linux. It's the like Omarchy flavor. I think that's how I'm going to describe it from now on. NixOS if I get my way. It's going to be a long time before I decide to rebuild this machine. Okay, so anyways, let's head over to projects and then go into, nope, Kubernetes. We're in the Kubernetes configs. Let's do tmux. What is it? How do I always forget tmux? Is it just new session? TLDR tmux? Yep. And we're going to call it K3s. Perfect. And let's just have two of these. And in pane 0, we're going to have my editor. How are we doing here? Is this big enough for everyone? One day. Nice. I'm on NixOS. Very cool. Did a declarative Debian using simple CDD this weekend. What is simple CDD? What is simple CDD? Is a limited, though relatively easy to use tool to create a customized Debian installer. Huh. Okay. So I'm just going to read through our manifest for AdGuard Home to see if I can remember. It's been a long time. Hey, Michael, how's it going? So this is going to be a deployment. It'll be, let's think about this. Let's go apps, and then I'm going to go back over here, cd into apps, and we're going to make a directory for Booklore. Woohoo! And now we have a directory. Oh, I'm already in there. AdGuard. So it's just AdGuard YAML. So we're going to touch, we're in apps. Sorry, my brain is super slow today. And we're just going to go booklore.yaml. And that's going to be our manifest. Over here, it's, oh, it updates. That's nice. And we're going to do a little visual split. And we're going to go Booklore. And let's start looking through. We're only going to need one replica for this. We'll update the selectors and templates. Containers, I mean, this is going to be the big one. We'll see about ports. I don't really know. Volume mounts. Okay. Well, that will probably pull out of the Docker Compose, right? And then volumes, yeah, those map over here. So we know what our volume mounts are, and we know what our volumes are. And then for Booklore, I think we only have one service, right? This has a UI and DNS for AdGuard. I think we're only going to deal with one service. We'll need to define the ingress, so that's no problem. Probably just going to copy pasted this and replace AdGuard. So that's tight. And then we've got our PVC. Yeah, that should be fine. And we've got another PVC. Now, one of the problems right now with our current Kubernetes is that, I don't know why I said it like that. It just sounded like a fun thing to do. is our persistent volume claims are not anywhere durable, as far as I know. Like, I actually don't know where this goes. Where does this go? Don't know. What I would like to do, this was something I was thinking about a while ago, is get these onto my NAS, but I want to do it like a Kubernetes first kind of way. And that would be to be able to make persistent volume claims via NFS or persistent volume claims preferably via ZFS. That would be tight. Um, but for now, we're just going to do this. Because, yeah, right now, like, where is this data? It's probably on just on my worker node. And so if the worker node ever goes down, I lose all of this config, which is not it's not awesome, right? Now Booklore probably going to pull probably in configuration is just going to be a method to pull uh like the media. So I'm not sure. Oh, we have a database. Okay. Do I need to I mean, obviously we're gonna have yeah, okay, cool. So we have a bunch of environment data, no problem. And then we have, books. Okay. So I will have to do probably some NFS stuff. Because it looks like Booklore doesn't do something like Jellyfin, where in the config I point to something else. Well, no, that maybe that is. No, I don't know. I've been trying to solve PVC manually, including support for warm spares. It's shockingly difficult. Interesting. Let's take a look. Kubernetes, PVC, NFS. To use NFS with Kubernetes, you need to create a persistent volume that points to your NFS share and a persistent volume claim that requests storage from that PV. Once the PVC is bound to the PV, you can mount it in your pods to access the NFS storage. Okay. So maybe we'll do that today. Now, what's interesting, what do I expect this to do? Path temp server. So here's a question. Something don't build your own orchestrator. Yeah. So on the helper program sbin, mount NFS is required to support the mounting of NFS file systems. I assume we have that. So how much of this needs to be on the host and how much of this happens within the container is an interesting question. Um, hmm. So let's go ahead and bust out Firefox and go to our Proxmox environment. So if I go over to our worker node and do, okay, well, that's illegible. Nice. Awesome. Let's do this instead, and then we'll pop this over here. So here we are. And one of the things we needed, so these are all the built-in types of persistent volumes without having to think. That's kind of cool. So if we go over to, it told us sbin. No mount. That's interesting. So I wonder how that works. You have the NFS CSI and the machines are running NFS 3 or 4. I think NFS 4. I think NFS 4. So do we have, we also don't have any books yet on the NAS. So if I do an SSH, where the hell is my NAS? I think it's over here. Yeah. Can I do this? Darn. Um, this? Woohoo! Okay. So, where is everything? Is it down here? Yeah, okay. So it should be in media bin, right? Whoa, not here. CD slash. Where did I put things? Export, maybe? Haha. Okay, tight. So we have movies, music, shows. Let's do a little let's do books. Do I have any books on here that I can just plop? I'll deal with that later, but I do need a file just so that I can test. So my game plan right now is to have at least one book there so I can test if things are mounting. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe what I should do, just go over here. Where's all my stuff? Yellow? Okay, that was interesting. Let's just copy this over and start playing with this. We're gonna go over to Booklore. I'm just gonna copy the Docker Compose into here and take a look at what we might need. So first thing, let's do a bunch of to-dos to do. I don't know how to do environment stuff in Kubernetes manifests. So that's an interesting problem to solve. Container stuff is going to be really easy. What about database? SQQ says, hey Nathan, why don't you use vi keybinds in shell? Asking because of the neoviminal. It's a great question. I just haven't ever taken the time. That's really all. Yeah. And then we have a to-do over here. How do we handle the PVC NFS stuff, right? Yo, finally a stream I can catch. Hello, Oliver. How you doing? So we have this. What about the database? To do. How do we handle the database? I assume this is going to be a matter of just spinning up a database container. So probably not that hard. Yeah. Okay. So maybe when we make up this PVC, it'll just be a matter of having two services, one the database service, one the application service, right? That kind of seems reasonable to me. And then the ingress stuff is going to be the same. And then we'll work out the PVC stuff. I think that's kind of where we're going with this. I don't know what book drop is. We'll figure that out later. Individual DBs or central shared store? So, I think I will do 1 DB per, like if a service requires a DB, I will let it have its own DB because I don't think I'm going to run out of productivity here. Like I don't think I'm going to run out of hardware juice. That's probably not my limiting factor. And so the simplicity of 1 DB per service is probably just going to be much nicer for me. I think kind of is my thing. So here's the deal. We're going to take this, or Docker Compose, and we're going to tell good old ChatGPT to help us map some of this out into a Kubernetes manifest. Because there are just a number of things that I don't really know how to do properly. In the meantime, let's give it our best bet first, though, I think is what I want to do. Just because, like, I would like to see how close I am so that I can learn from my mistakes. So, in the meantime, what I'll do is this. Sorry, I know I'm, like, just rambling at you. I don't know. I haven't played around with home labbing stuff in a while. Let's get rid of this liveness probe stuff. That's not necessary, is it? Nope. Oops. Boom. Okay. Yeah, and so what I'm going to do is go up here. I'm going to do a little add guard and replace that with Booklore. Boom. That's going to be step 1. So we have Booklore. We are going to be doing some Argo CD stuff because that was kind of fun. I'm quite proud of that, even though it was a massive pain in the ass. We can delete these. And then for Booklore, yeah, let's is it disastrous? Is it like a really stupid idea for me to just go latest? I should probably pin versions, right? Yeah, probably. I'm probably not gonna do that though, which is like, why wouldn't I do that? But I won't. Um, and then it'll bite me in the ass later, and then I'll be kind of mad about it. Booklore port. So it pulls this from an environment, but I don't know how to do environment variables in Kubernetes manifests yet. How do I do No, let's check docs first before we rely on the AI. I like that that rhymes. So let's see, Kubernetes manifests environment variables. Is that a thing? Why pin versions if you're not taking the other precautions that make it matter? I don't know what other precautions make it matter. So I like to think of um, try to do as many of those of the things that you know are good as possible. It makes migrating to good things later better. Better to risk a breaking change versus outdated software. See, now that's an interesting trade-off, and that makes sense. Okay. I can just feed values in. That's kind of cool. So what is this? What exactly is, how about I read? How about I read to find out what we're doing here? So when you create a pod, you can set environment variables for the containers that run in that pod. To set environment variables, include the env or env_from field in this configuration file. The env and env_from fields have different effects. Env allows you to set environment variables for a container, specifying a value directly for each variable that you name. Cool. Env_from allows you to set environment variables for a container by referencing either a config map or a secret. When you use env_from, all the key value pairs in the referenced config map or secret are set as environment variables for the container. That's super easy. Okay, so then basically all I need to do, this is an env, not an env_from, I'm guessing, right? Kind pod. So, okay. Well, where is env_from? Example, maybe, please? Kind pod, spec containers. We're just doing env. Okay, where is the example of env_from? That's weird. Kubernetes. Env_from? Namespace, API, deployment. Okay. Env. Ah, okay, you just pull it like that. That's okay, but like, is that not just like wicked easy? I'm just gonna put this as you know what we'll actually what we'll do is we'll have this. I'll have my DB open, and we're just gonna do Kubernetes learning.mb. Kubernetes learning. Okay. Booklore supports OIDC, and you could use a logging and monitoring stack. Ooh, that'll be good. I will definitely be moving towards that in the future. Okay, so did I just click in NeoVim? I feel kind of like an asshole for that. Environment variables. Env_from to pull from env files. Right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to do just a little example here. Set conceal level equals 0. Literally every time, please. Okay. Is that right? So config map ref, how old is this? When was this last set? 3 years ago? Might be okay. Might be okay. Cool. Code wizard config map. So where is does it have look at this. We have to create a config map as well. There we go. Kind. See, that's what I was looking for in the docs. Because one of the things we learned about Kubernetes last time we were doing Kubernetes, which I admit is a while ago, is we have these kinds, right? And it kind of tells you what you're defining in Kubernetes land. And I was looking for a way to define config maps that just seems like the Kubernetes way to do it. Oh joy, config maps. That doesn't seem too bad, right? I'm just saying I name it. It's part of a namespace. And then the data, I assume this is pulling from like an environment file, right? 2024 pod, my pod, spec containers, env. So we can just pass env files directly, but we can also secret ref value from env. Where is config? What, like, why is this so hard? Why is this not clear in the docs? Right? Okay. Maybe here. Value from. So we have pods. The simplest ones are very simple. Config maps can get very messy when you start asking, how do I protect them? Oh, we're not protecting anything. We're not protecting anything today. Okay. So that's all well and good. Containers and get pods. Okay. And var. All I want to do is get pull from like an env file. All right, we're asking Kubernetes. How do I pull values from an env file into a deployment like so? Do I need to define a config map? All right, let's find out. That's fine. Create a config map or secret from your env file. So, create a config map. Or using YAML. We're always going to use YAML here. Okay, so what's interesting to me from env file? I mean, I guess I could just do that. Loving your channel recently, just saw your video on Umbrel. It doesn't seem to be able to handle RAID thoughts. Yeah, it's Umbrel needs some work. There are missing features. It doesn't seem to me like a full-fledged NAS OS yet. It seems really promising, but yes, the RAID issue is big. It seems to me like their solution is just have a NAS somewhere else and hook the NAS up to our device, which is not a satisfying solution. You can also take a look at ZimaOS, which is a little bit more closed source, but also is like much more full-fledged NAS like operating system. So that's probably where I would go for that. Okay, so here, I think what we're going to do then is instead of having this env file, we're going to define it like this using the env map or the config map stuff. Light for me is SOPs based against age. Makes sense. Okay, so basically, yeah, we can take this and so this goes in the service. And this YAML, this replaces your env file like that, which feels good to me. Like I like that. I think that makes sense. So what might I want to do? Booklore env? Nope. Let's call it the Kubernetes thing. That will help. Right? So now config map. All good points. It seems so close to greatness for people less interested in really deep diving deep. Again, thank you for your content recently. Tech detoxing, feeling much better. Ah, well, thank you so much. That's nice of you to say. I'm glad it's useful for you. Okay, so let's grab our env file. Okay. And let's convert this over to a config map. So let's go. Now, where did we go to learn about config maps? Just now. I think it was good old ChatGPT. Yeah. So I'm gonna paste this here. And we're gonna say, so yes, this is correct. It is a config map, metadata. This is gonna be Booklore config map. Awesome. And then we have data. So instead of typing this all out, I'm just gonna ask good old Jippity, can you convert this to a config map and save ourselves some time? Yeah, I recognize that that's the case, but also, am I gonna deal with this right now? Is that my game plan? No, not right now. If I try to fix everything before it's a problem, I'm just gonna be stressed and sad. Fuck that. We'll deal with that later. Okay. So, back over here. So, of our to-dos, we've sort of dealt with one of them, right? So we had, why did I make all this space over here? Weirdo. Right. So environment stuff is more or less handled. We do the env from later. And then how do we handle this database? Well, I think that's just going to end up being a service, right? We have containers over here. And we can just, oh, here's a to-do. Fix this. Because I'm not actually sure what this does. To do check. I don't know if those are correct. Also, is that the correct image? Booklore home? It's not. It's just Booklore. Ah. Okay. So that's cool. Now we need to create a container specification. So it's like name, and it's probably just MariaDB, that kind of thing. I'm glad it's helping. Nice. So this is going to be based off of something in this guy, MariaDB container, right? And this is also grabbing the same environment, which is interesting. Should be able to just pull that. Okay, so let's go here. And it's going to need its own PVC stuff too. Ugh. Kubernetes manifests are so annoying. This would be so easy as a Docker compose. Okay, where is the tension coming from right now? Why do I feel like this is bothersome in comparison? Is it actually that much harder? It's more verbose and it's difficult to remember all of the different places where you're going to need to update things. Yeah, that's what's bothering me right now. That's what's bothering me. However, the fact that you like manage the DNS or you manage the load balancer or ingress, I might not need this for this, right? What are the odds that I'll need this? I think fairly low. To do, might not need this for Booklore. This will be good. So we're at Stallman again. He famously refused to set a password because passwords restrict free access to information. That's that's a little much for me. Okay. So go back here. So we're going to go over to here. And we're just grabbing port. So we don't need all of these extra ports, right? We're just going to grab this. Now, oh, this is interesting. I I notice now that when in Docker, when you're grabbing this environment variable, you can use it, you can reference it directly here. But in that's different from environment variables that are actually living inside the container, including being a yes, he's quite extreme sometimes, including being a sex pest. Yes, I've heard things about Stallman. um, yes, so this I might just hard code, which is not that big a deal. 3000. I think they're using 6060, so we're just gonna do that. And then what else is needed? I don't know. Depends on. I don't know how to handle the depends on thing. I'm sure Kubernetes has a way. Yep. So this this seems reasonable, except we're going to have to deal with the volumes. So we have a little to do here. Address volumes and volume mounts. Mounts followed by PVCs. So let's see. Cluster IP. I don't think I'll need a cluster IP here. So that can probably go. And I think also this can go. Right? We're really only going to need this. And then we have two PVCs, right? And I think what I'm going to do is put the PVCs up here, because that'll make it a little bit more readable. Yeah. Okay. So I think my structure is going to be something like, I'm going to think about it like services, right? And I think about this in like the AWS sense. I think about ECS services. So this translates to containers. And then I think about, whoa, hey, it's helping me too much. PVCs. And then we're going to think about ingress after, right? Ingress. Roots, right? K3s doesn't really have depends on. It expects your application to be tolerant. Interesting. Okay. So, basically what's left? We have to make adjustments to our volumes, and then we have to set up the MariaDB stuff. Okay. At this point, I don't feel bad about yoinking this into ChatGPT and saying, hey, update the manifest to include MariaDB plus fix PVCs, volumes, and volume claims, or volume mounts, darn. Volume mounts, volumes, and PVCs. Yes, okay. So I don't want it to do it all at once because I want to kind of read some of the updates. So let's see, 4 PVCs. Actually, I don't really care that much. Commented at the bottom is the Docker compose to base things on. Cool. Answer now. That sounds like a terrible idea, doesn't it? I wonder how this is going to go. I wonder if we're and let's take a look. How did we had Argo, right? Is this still running? Nice. Oh. 1 second. There we go. And I'm back. So this is our little Argo CD fella that we use to track the state of our Kubernetes cluster. Now, also, a friend of mine pointed out Kubernetes Lens. What? What does this have to do with LLMs? What is loop IDE? Yay, lens, grep, Kubernetes. Can I not grep that? Or did it return nothing? Lens, the Kubernetes API. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Probably just rock that. Photographic lens. Yeah, lay, yay. Lens bin. A friend of mine pointed out that this seems awesome. What is loop? Cool. Leads nowhere. To give you like a full overview of what's going on in your cluster. And that just sounds kind of awesome. LLM powered apps. No, don't really need that. Cool. So, yeah, because really what I wanted Argo CD for, less than like GitOps stuff, was just to know what's in my cluster at any time. This kind of helps with that. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've got going on. Below is an updated manifest, adds a separate MariaDB deployment plus service. So MariaDB DNS works like in Docker Compose, fixes PVCs, volumes, mounts to match your compose. Yeah, wires all env vars from the config map plus secret we derived from your env. So let's take a look. It's doing secret stuff, whatever. Now let's take a look. We have the first container, which is Booklore. Interesting. Do I have to do it this way? I can't just import the full thing because this is extremely verbose, which I find tiresome. And is it considering this kind of MariaDB name default? I kind of want these. Yeah, like I want these to be considered a deployment that happens together instead of having a single like Docker, or sorry, a single database that just lives freeform in my Kubernetes cluster. I want it to be deeply tied to Booklore. Are you having fun yet? Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know, what isn't complex, right? It's like, yeah, I could run this in Docker Compose and then it would be up. But what would I have learned? Not a lot, right? I am learning. So let's do a couple of changes here. For the env, can we import the full config full config map worth of values? Are they then they share a pod? Yes, that's my goal. I want them to share a pod. And right now, this manifest does not do that, right? Pod? We don't have any of that. Whoa. Right? Yeah. Okay. Can we import the full config map worth of values? That's how you'd tie them. Yeah, that makes sense. I think what we'll do, actually, let's grab this, and then I'm just gonna open this up in cursor so that I don't have to do this hopping back and forth crap. It's likely to be the best option. So I'm gonna take this, pop this over here. Yeah. Also, Gemini 3 Pro is intensely good at configs. Interesting. I might have access to that. Let's find out. Let's try cursor. And pop about. Let's go file. Open folder. And we're going to go Kubernetes. And then we're using Composer right now. I ain't using Opus. I don't have Opus money. All right, let's try Gemini 3. So, and we're going to go at files. So we're going to go here, update the manifest, and configuration for, what are we looking at? Booklore. To include MariaDB, yeah. Things. So I want to go apps/Booklore. Let's see what happens. Yo, hey Kyle, how's it going? Ferret Code says, if you're a student, you can get a year of Gemini Pro for free. Unfortunately, I am no longer a student. Just barely missed that window. Maquis de Sade. I don't know Maquis de Sade. Political activist and nobleman, best known for his libertine novels and imprisonment for sex crimes, blasphemy, and pornography. Excellent contribution, Plus. Thank you. So, let's take a look. Oh, that's kind of nice that it was did that for me. Wow, it is just making changes. Like, I'm a little... Okay, so if we pop over here again, we should get those picked up. So we have secret, config, and YAML, and like the basic manifest, right? We're gonna make this a little bigger for all of the viewers. The word sadomaso derives from his name. No way, really? That's an interesting little tidbit of lore. I've updated the Booklore configuration to include MariaDB as a sidecar container. Interesting. That's pretty much, that sounds like what I would have wanted. Kubernetes sidecar? Sidecar containers are the secondary containers that run along with the main application container within the same pod. Perfect. These containers are used to enhance or to extend the functionality of the primary app container. Oh, okay. Awesome. This is what we wanted. This is great. Here's an example of a deployment with two containers, one of which is a sidecar. So I'm guessing this is our sidecar. That's a very reasonable approach. I use it heavily. Awesome. So okay, we learned a cool thing. With Kubernetes, you can, like, it often makes sense to put well, if you want that database to application one-to-one mapping that I'm a fan of in my home lab, then using a sidecar for the database makes sense. Cool. Sidecar containers run alongside app containers in the same pod. However, they do not execute the primary application logic. Instead, they provide supporting functionality to the main application. Awesome. Sidecar containers work alongside the main container and extending its functionality and providing additional services. Sidecar containers run concurrently with the main application. They are active throughout the lifecycle of the pod and can be started and stopped independently of the main. Unlike init containers, sidecar containers support probes to control their lifecycle. Cool. Even beyond K3s, sidecars are a container feature more than a K3s feature. Yeah, sidecars come up a fair amount in the AWS stuff that I was up to at work. So, okay. So let's take a look. What have we got? So we're going this approach. Now in our volumes, replace the old PVCs with Booklore data, Booklore books, Booklore book drops, and MariaDB config to match the Docker compose. This makes sense. Okay. Service. Defined a Booklore UI service that exports port 3000, mapped to container port 6060 to match your ingress configuration. We might tweak that. I'm probably going to stick with 6060. Ferret says, it's also a useful pattern in microservice-based applications. You can deploy stuff like logging containers or service mesh stuff that hook into a pod to assist with observability. Okay, nice. Good to know. Yeah, that makes sense because we use like sidecars for logging stuff, right? I think it's a compliance issue where we like if you launch a service, you have to also launch like it bundles the logging sidecar. So, and then updated database URL. Nice. Very cool. New file. Yep. Action required. Please edit this file to set your actual secure passwords before applying. See, this is relatively pointless because I'm going to push this to Git. I'm going to push this to public Git. I mean, it's all local anyways, so I'm not that upset about it. Um, yeah, I will likely just do that. Okay, so let's take a look. This is our Booklore YAML. Indeed, so about that logging stack I mentioned earlier. I will be doing that, promise. Just not this run. So we're doing secret keyref and config map keyref. And I guess that makes sense because we're referencing both secrets and a config map, using the keyref thing keeps this fairly consistent. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then we're going to have to make adjustments here for the NFS stuff. Now, it's not going to happen in volume mounts. It's going to happen later in the PVC, right? So we're going to have to deal with that. Okay, great. So we have PVC data. We have PVC books. We have the PVC for book drop. We have the MariaDB config. And then we got rid of all the garbage. Booklore UI. And we don't need an ingress. Okay, this is good. When you say SOPs, SOPs, secret ops, in my head I was reading that as standard operating procedures. Okay, yes, I will take a look at that. I don't want to do too many things I don't fully understand all at once. First thing I want to do is get this running. Very cool. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just keep these files because they look good. They're easy to read. I'm happy. Happy, happy camper. So, what is the next thing that we need? I mean, is this up to date? Is this synced? No, it's not. One of the sad parts about working with LLMs at the same time as working in NeoVim is this thing. This constant having to do stuff. Okay. Now, so these are going to be deployed in the same pod. That's great, right? And let's confirm that. We're going to do an ask because because we're launching MariaDB as a sidecar, these will be in the same pod, correct? And let's take a look. Is there a thing that notes the pod? No. Interesting. I would have expected that. Are we using? So because both Booklore and MariaDB are defined under the same spec, template spec containers listed in your deployment, they will run in the same pod. Okay, awesome. Share the same network space, share the same lifecycle. Tight. So there's no like, I explicitly declare this a sidecar. If it's not the primary thing, the primary service, let's not use the AWS terminology. We're in Kubernetes. If it is not the primary container, then it's considered a sidecar, I assume. Okay, awesome. So now we're going to have to make some adjustments because I want these all to be NFS PVCs. So is that a reasonable thing to do right now? Is that a reasonable thing to do right now? Well, yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I think that's fine. Okay. So here I would make these NFS. So let's do some asking. Up to set up the PVCs to be done slash handled via NFS, how what would we change? What would we change? Okay. Now we did take a look at that earlier, somewhere in here. Okay. To use your NFS to use NFS for your volumes, the changes depend on whether you have an NFS storage provisioner installed in your cluster, or if you need to manually map to an NFS server. Option 1, you have an NFS storage class. Okay, we don't have that. Option 2, manually persist volumes. If you don't have a provisioner, you must explicitly define a persistent volume for each PVC that points to your NFS server IP and path. Okay. Um, to point to for option 1, I assume my NAS would have to be in the cluster. Is that correct? For option 2, would the would all the worker nodes have to have the what's my question? I'm curious if the cluster, if the host has to know, like has to have NFS set up. Two, does the host have to have NFS set up, or does the container simply get set up to handle NFS to the server? No, your NAS does not need to be in the cluster. Your NAS just sits on your network inside your Kubernetes cluster. You install a small software component called a provisioner. You configure the provisioner once with your NAS IP and a root path. Okay. When you create a PVC, like Booklore data, the provisioner automatically talks to your NAS, creates a subfolder, and connects it to your pod. Okay, that's really cool. The Kubernetes nodes need the NFS client, not the container. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Did it present me two options? Just two. So this feels out of date though. If your cluster has an NFS storage class, I guess I just have to create an NFS storage class for the cluster. Is that right? So Kubernetes NFS storage class. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. That's fairly reasonable. Um, so, okay. Let's create an NFS storage class then. Here's the template, I think. Um, and the server is where is my server? 10.88.111.4. Yep. And let's take a look at what's this? Ah, yes, that's a DB. Where would this be? It's not in hosts. I tried that last time. I think it's in. Where would this be? I always. Why do I keep forgetting? Exports? It's not an FS tab. There we go. Sudo vim FS tab. Okay. And so we've got it all done here. Is there anything else? What else might I need to know? I guess, I mean, we're doing NFS v4. It's NFS v4. So I don't know how this storage class works. Server path that is exported by the NFS server. Right. Okay. So in NFS4 fashion, I can't just arbitrarily pick a nested directory and be like, that's the one I want. I have to say, no, the one that is exported, like the root NFS thingy. Okay. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. So in that case, um, we can do this. We can yoink that. No, it didn't come with me. Can I do this? How? Yeah, I didn't think so. Why did that open? Okay, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna do nvim fs tab. J. Whoops. Oh, I'm not doing relative line numbers. Uh, is my mount my fs tab mount? So let's see what it does. I'm interested to see what it creates. To use a storage class with NFS, you generally need an NFS provisioner running in your cluster because Kubernetes doesn't have a built-in NFS provisioner, logic that automatically creates folders on your remote NAS. The built-in Kubernetes IO NFS provisioner is for internal use or cloud providers. Oh. The standard way to do this is using the NFS subdir external provisioner. However, if you want to create a storage class that maps to that specific NFS server, you first need to deploy the provisioner that will act on that storage class. Holy shit. Okay. Interesting. This creates the pool of storage pointing to your NAS. Static mapping, no extra software needed. Okay. And then in data, bind to it. Booklore. So we have a volume name. So we're just going to end up making a boatload of persistent volumes on the NAS. This is not a clean way to do this, is it? However, it does make it all very explicit for me, and I can choose things nicely, or a specific subfolder like Booklore data. I mean, that's what I would want to do. Okay. So yeah, I think that's probably what I'm going to do for now. I'll be right back, everyone. Uh, that's not, oh, right. Let's do, oh, right. I can do this, and then I can do this, and then I can do BRB. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so where were we? We're right here. So I think we're gonna do the static thing. I think that makes sense. No extra software needed. So, which makes this even more verbose, but I guess that's fine. Volume. So I still need a volume mount, a volume, and then a persistent volume, and then a persistent volume claim. Is that correct? So with option 2, for any data, I need a volume, volume mount, persistent volume, and PVC. Is that right? Uh-huh. Persistent volume. Here is a specific physical folder on my NAS. Persistent volume claim. I request to use that specific PV. Volume. I want to use that PVC in this pod. Volume mount. Put that volume at this path inside the. Okay. That, I mean, at least it's clear. The verbosity is one thing, but I have found so far that when I interact with Kubernetes, even though it is verbose, it does make sense, right? Okay, let's go with option 2. The root or the directory we want to use is, now I have this over here. Nope, my SSH. We have media. So this is where like media goes. I want this. Nope, not that one. I want this one. Haha. Ah, it's not in my SSH. That's frustrating. Whatever. Okay. Nope. Messed up my password. Okie dokie. So we're going down into export, and then we're going to go. Now, small boy actually contains KPVC, which is where I intended to put Kubernetes persistent volume claims. And so now what we'll do is for each application, we will create a directory. So we're going to make inside KPVC a directory called, real soon, fellas, my brain is going to work. Booklore. Awesome. We got there. Okay. So we're going to take this. We're going to go over here. For books, we're using export. Is it export? Yes. Media bin, media, books. For other PVs, slash export, slash small boy, slash KPVC, slash Booklore. Did I do it? I did not do it with caps. Booklore. Now, for each one of these, right, we're going to have, yeah, under that, you can create as many DIRs as needed. Cool. Very cool. Gang, would you hire me? Would you guys want to work with me on your team? Asking just in case. Kind of speaking out into the ether right now. I think I've bored the hell out of everyone by actually building things on stream. But you know what? I wanted a home lab, so here we go. One of the worst parts of vibe coding is sitting around and waiting. Kind of just feels bad. What is it doing? Okay. It's chugging. It's thinking. Wow. And then it just went. Interesting. Oh, I'm in ask mode. I'm kind of a moron. Okay, let's go. You must ensure the directories exist on your NAS or the mount will fail. Yeah, generate them. Okay, so at the end of this, we'll know what we need. So we have Booklore, and inside that, we're going to make data. And let's just take a look at our Docker Compose and see what we'll need. Data, books and book drop will not be necessary, but for MariaDB, oh, this is interesting. Because we have the persistent volume. So really this should be at the pod level. This is a pod. A pod's because I want persistent volumes pertaining to particular pods. So I will have a MariaDB one in here. And that's perfectly fine, but it's a little bit wonky. Okay, that's fine. Booklore data, Booklore book drop. What the hell is book drop? What is that? Oh, cool. Love that. Um, that should still be here though. Okay, book drop. Is it called data? Is that correct? Yeah, data, book drop. And then we need the MariaDB one. So let's hop back over here. We have this, MariaDB config, book drop, data. MariaDB config. Cool. And that's all of our persistent volumes. I like it. Okay. Container creating state while trying to mount them. Okay, good to know. Okay. Um, let's keep all. And then what we're going to do over here is just do a QAll, open this back up, and take a look at what we have. So we've got Booklore, which contains a config map. It contains secret, it contains PVs, it contains YAML. And ingress. I guess I could start separating this out further if I wanted to. Doesn't seem necessary. I'm going to commit a sin here, which is to just commit secrets because this runs locally. I don't expose this to anyone. So a little bit whatever. Wait, what changed here? Why did that change? Server.insecure true. Okay, I'm not gonna touch that. Because yeah, that doesn't, there's no way that's in effect. So we're gonna commit, we're gonna say add Booklore, push that. And then fairly soon, we should be able to new app, application name, Booklore, project name default, basic manual. Weird that there's no way to do this like automatically, like to fill out a bunch of stuff by default. That would be kind of nice. Delete sync, but there's no way to just be like, huh, healthy out of sync. Okay. So I just want to grab my Git link. All right, I will go to GitHub. Whatever. So, Kubernetes configs, which now contain a SYN, but a little bit whatever. And then we're going to go applications, new app, Booklore, project name, whatever, manual, boom, yes. And then for path, this is apps slash Booklore. Cluster URL, I assume. Is this all the same? We're going to go Argo and make sure that this is right. Details. Yeah, that all seems right. Oh, it's auto syncing. Okay, cool. Cool. Let's auto sync as well. Sounds like a nice thing to do. Does it? Yeah. I mean, I assume that that's just, we can go by defaults here. I mean, I guess worst case, it doesn't work, right? Okay. Create? Unable to create application. Booklore is invalid. Metadata.name invalid value Booklore. A lowercase RFC subdomain must contain. Ah, okay, cool. Booklore. Sync. The resources will be synced using kubectl replace create command that is a potentially destructive action. That's perfectly fine. Unable to sync. Another operation is already in progress. It's probably launching. Status missing, syncing. So it's currently working on it. Get pods. Currently have AdGuard. And if we do kubectl get pods, how did this work again? It was like namespace Argo CD. Yeah. Okay. And so we're all up and running. One error. Namespace for Booklore config v1 is missing. Okay, cool. So Booklore -config / v1 kind equals config map is missing. So where would that have happened? If we go over here, apps, Booklore. So we have a config map called Booklore -config. So why would that be considered missing? Was it not pushed? Is that the case? I don't think so. Nope, it's right there. So, wrong namespace. Just swinging by to support. I'm at work. Video editing. Ah, very cool. What kind of stuff do you video edit? So I think the config map was just in the wrong namespace. Okay, cool. That's a nice, quick, easy fix. We're going to do a little Control Z here. We're going to do a git status, git add apps, git commit. Let's go fix add Booklore config map to default namespace. That feels weird. That feels like default namespace should be default, and that's where it should go, you know, by default, because it's the default. You know what I mean? That doesn't sound like a crazy thing to think. Interviews for internal use, weddings, or corporate stuff. Ooh, cool. Started at 3 minutes ago. So I think we want to terminate this sync because it didn't work. And then we want to, aha! Look at that. In the meantime, while this goes, I don't need that open. Let's take a look at Lens and see how it Kubernetes is. New to Lens. I don't have an activation code. Let's sign in with GitHub. I don't have a company. Team. Okay, cool. Boom. Open lens. Okay, so I need to get it pointed at a cluster, I guess. Oh, wow. Wait, no, hold on. It's picking things up already. Whoa! Pod has unbound immediate persistent volume claims. Preemption 0 to 3 nodes are available. Preemption is not helpful for scheduling. Okay. So that's immediately helpful. Huh. Deployments unavailable. This is awesome. Daemon sets, state like it all of a sudden my cluster is discoverable to me? Okay, so our persistent volume claims are failing. These PVs are available, which is great. Books. We're going to have to make that capacity bigger, probably. Storage classes, local path. This is cool. Home charts. Huh. Okay. Well, let's deal with this. Pod has unbound immediate persistent volume claims. Okay. I'm getting pod has unbound immediate persistent volume claims. So what might this be? Pod has unbound immediate persistent volume claims. So the persistent volume claims don't seem to be working. Why? What might this mean and what might be causing it? Just a heads up, I'm gonna be popping off at 6, pretty sharp today. Oh, you can do a little get PV action. That's cool. Cube. I mean, of course you can. They're, yeah, retain, available. Okay, so, and their read write, are they not in the right? We hard coded the binding. If the PV created in step 1 is named slightly different or not created, claim ref issues. If you previously applied a PVC, deleted it, and reapplied it, the old PV might still think it's bound. Storage class mismatch. Even with volume name set, sometimes Kubernetes gets picky if storage class name isn't empty. In our files, we didn't specify storage class name on the PV or PVC, which defaults to empty string. Okay. So Booklore dash bookdrop dash PV. Booklore dash books dash PV. Ah, storage class is incorrect. There we go. So what might we do about that? I mean, I assume storage path is incorrect. Storage class seems wrong here. This is NFS, not local path, right? Now, it might still be local path because we're... Oh, no, okay. So, yes, you're absolutely correct. The storage class column shows local path, which is likely your cluster's default storage class. Because we didn't specify a storage class name in our PVCs, Kubernetes automatically assigned the default one. However, our manual PVs have no storage class unset. This mismatch prevents binding. Okay. We This seems odd. Hmm. Okay, interesting. Okay, let's do that. Boom. I do enjoy using Kubernetes. I'm not gonna lie. There's something like, I don't know. I feel I feel as though Kubernetes controls so much of the entirety of what I want to do when I'm deploying things that like you can sort of manage the whole thing from within Kubernetes, and that feels good to me. It feels consistent instead of like ending up stitching together stuff with Docker and NFS and stuff. It's like you just do this through Kubernetes and it's observable through Kubernetes. That feels good. So add storage class name blank to avoid local path defaulting. Okay, see how that goes. So that should go. Lens is cool. I'm loving that. And now this is going to be out of sync. We can synchronize it. It's synced. The Marie. Okay, so book drop is still cooking, and MariaDB is still cooking. Let's take a look. How are we doing now? Mount volume setup failed. Okay, that makes sense. Exit status 32. And this is probably going to be the case for everything now, or is that old age? Because yeah, that's a little old now. Oh, cool. Okay. Okay. So let's do kube control get PV and C. And now let's do a kube. So there is the claim. It's making the claim. Get PV. No, we just did PV. Now we want PVCs. And now storage class is not set. Okay, great. And that explains why we're getting a different, uh, whatchamacallit, a different error. Now it's a warning for volume. Mount failed. Exit status 32. Mounting command. Mounting argument. This. Yeah. So the mount isn't working. That's what we're getting. Wonder why. Oh, this is nice. So, I mean, this is not going to work. Mounting arguments. Dash T. For lib. Yep. Mount program didn't pass remote address. How do I get this log? CPU, memory, network, file system. Show events. Ah, events. Awesome. All right. So, what might be happening here? Let's go ahead and go vim blah and just take a look at this. Mount failed. Exit status 32. Mounting command. Fuck off. Mount volumes. Booklore PV. FS config failed. NFS mount program didn't pass remote address. What does that mean? NFS mount program didn't pass remote address. Failed mount call. Failed mount system call. Ah, that's interesting. That might not be the case. So how would how would I repair that, address that durably? If I want to start up a new worker node, right? What I would want is like a cloud init for a couple of packages. That kind of thing could work. Ansible could work. Um, yeah, we have the Ansible thing to do. Okay, well, my assumption is that's the problem. So let's take a look. Let's go into our worker node, pop open the console. Let's clear this. And can we check if that's installed first? How do we, from apt, how do I check what's installed? I forget. Apt check what, check if package is installed. Apt list installed grep. Are you using a CSI driver for the NFS share? I went with just manually defining persistent volumes. That was my approach for now. Okay. NFS common. So it doesn't look like it's there. Okay, that's perfectly fine. So we can do a sudo apt install NFS common. And then we can probably just restart the pod, and then we're probably going. Dpackage L. Yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Dpackage-L. Oh, why is that nicer than apt's interface? What? What is it? So I did apt list -- installed. Why is dpackage's interface nicer? Apt is supposed to be the pretty one. Okay, great. So what we can do is do a kube control get pods, kube control restart Booklore, something like that. Pod TLDR, TLTR every time. Label pods, get pods, service, deployment, ingress. Yeah. Get all. Oh, I didn't know that was the thing. Cool. Cluster info. Huh. Awesome. Well, that's great. I need to know how to restart a pod. Kube control get. Let's go. Can I do this? Kube control get pods help. No. Okay. Kube control how to restart pod. Do I have man pages for this? Oh, restart pod. Okay. Well, that was less exciting than I thought. Kube control rollout restart deployment. Kube control get deployments. Okay. Kube control rollout restart deployment and Booklore. Okay. Hopefully I don't have to restart the host. That would be annoying. That would be annoying. Okay, now let's pop back over to Lens, which was not annoying and in fact awesome. Are we having fun? Yes. Yes, we are. What was the problem? I didn't have NFS common on my the worker node. So we've been doing a little debugging. We'll see how this goes now. Because yeah, we got this error basically saying couldn't mount, and makes sense. NFS common wasn't running. So I'm hoping that I can just restart the pod and that'll handle it instead of me having to restart the whole the whole node. So we're still in container creating, but still at the first install run. Yeah. Well, this may be something that we try again or that we continue next week. But honestly, I'm fairly happy with how much Kubernetes knowledge I've retained, even though it's been quite a while. Okay, so this is the new one. We're still getting this error though. We're still getting the mount failed. So we may. Oh, wait. Interesting. Okay, so let's go back. Click this. Go down here. This was 100 seconds ago. So it is failing to mount still. It is failing to mount. Okay. Now we're still using NFS version 4.2, but the question, what version of NFS is on here? How much does that matter? Where might this be? I don't know yet. All right, go ahead and do that. This is going to be my last attempt, and then we'll come back to this next week. All right, go ahead and remove the strict version, but it should at least be version 4, I think. And we'll see what comes up. But yeah, definitely learned, like, I feel like I'm learning. I don't know. I feel like I'm coming to a greater understanding of how to use Kubernetes related tooling, things like that. And Lens is sweet. That is quite nice. Having the CLI and this GUI make me feel like I have just like more. Oh wow, look, it just ran the command. I don't like that. I don't like that it just ran, but also I guess that's not that big a deal. Yeah, having Lens and the CLI and Argo CD over here feels really good. Like that's just. Oh, Argo CD is gonna fight me, I think, because I have it on automatic. So I kind of want to turn that off. Edit to. So where is automatic syncing? Yeah, we do not want auto syncing because that's going to be a problem. Any experience with K9's CLI tool? It's great. No, not much at all. K9's CLI. Manage your Kubernetes clusters in style. Ooh. Ooh, okay, so it's like it's a TUI. Very nice. That feels like Lens, but with like within within the TUI framework, which is always a happy time. Okay, so where was I? So restarting the pods didn't work. If I restart my worker node now, what's going to happen? If I restart my worker node now, my internet goes down because I'm running AdGuard on that worker node. K3s in general is it's going to fight me. To be fair, yes, yeah, okay. I think I will. I might do a little tinkering with this off stream, and we'll figure it out from there. But we've made some good progress today towards launching a thing. And every time we do this, we get closer to just kind of knowing, oh yeah, we're going to launch this Kubernetes. We're going to launch this on our cluster. No problem. Feeling more confident. I felt more confident this time than I did when I was running AdGuard. So that's good. That may also be part of the subjective experience of having AI do quite a bit of it for me. Last time I was doing everything manually, which was something. But no, that's not true. That's not true. I did use AI a little bit last time. So this is all me, baby. Or at least I'm doing an apples to apples comparison, which is fair game. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. Wait, can I like pop in? It'd be great. Oh, you can SSH in through Lens to each one of your nodes? Okay, but that's like really cool though. Right? That's like really cool. Okay. Anyways, gang. Um, Thank you for sitting with me, hanging out while we pop about some Kubernetes stuff. Um, what else do we have on the docket? Hopefully, we can get the cohorts launched for January. It'll be a fairly minimal set of the initial of like the functionality, but hey, you got to start somewhere. I think I'm moving to doing videos every other week because I've been wanting to think a little bit deeper about the problems I'm thinking about and try to like spend that time improving my editing, thinking a little bit more about I don't know, just depth is important to me. And when I was making like silly little Linux videos where it's like, I think Omarchi is cool, and that was the thesis of the video, that was really easy to put out every week. Now that I'm like really trying to think through notions of digital ethics, that takes a lot more time and interest. So yeah, I will probably be moving to biweekly on those so that I have more time. However, if I'm unemployed come February, God knows, maybe I will work weekly. All right. Anyways, gang, thank you so much for hanging out.